This video explains how to set reordering rules for particular products. A reordering rule is essentially a rule that you set for a particular product so that an RFQ, a request for quotation, can be automatically generated once you run below a particular quantity for that particular product. So for example, I have 100 quantities of a particular product in my laboratory. I might want to generate a request for quotation automatically once I have 20 or less of that particular product. In order to achieve this, I'll need to create a reordering rule. To demonstrate this, I'll come under the inventory module, and under inventory control, look at my products. So this is the list of my products. I can see that for my 10 ml syringe, I have 14 on hand. Now, I might want to create a rule such that whenever I fall below 20 of 10 ml syringe, then a procurement should be generated. In order to achieve this, I'll click on the product, and I'll click on the reordering rule. And then once I click on the reordering rule, I can create a new rule. And then this is the form. Of course, Odoo assigns a reference automatically for you, but you can change it to anything you want. And then this is the product. This is the warehouse location stock. This is the lead time. That is the days to purchase. It could be days to get the product or days to purchase the product. And then the minimum quantity. So what's important here is to set the minimum quantity. I can say I have 14 of these products, but let's say I want a procurement to be generated anytime my product falls below 20. So I can make this 20 the minimum quantity, and I save that. So if I come to the particular product, I can see that now I have a minimum quantity of 20 that should always be in my laboratory. But right now I have 14, so there's a problem. However, in order for a procurement to be generated for this, a vendor needs to be assigned to this particular product. So if I come under inventory, I'll see I already have a vendor. But just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to edit and remove that vendor and save. Now, all is set. I have 14 quantities of this particular product, but I want the minimum should be 20. So in order to trigger a procurement, I would come under schedulers and click on run schedulers, and I get a dialog box that asks me if I want to compute all procurement in the background. Now, essentially what this does is when you run a scheduler, the scheduler looks through all your products, looks at the quantity on hand, and looks at the minimum quantities that you have set for them. Now, if there are any products that are below their minimum quantities, Odoo automatically generates a request for quotation for those particular products. Now, for this to work, for those particular products you set minimum quantities on, you must also assign them a vendor. If you don't assign a vendor to that product, then what Odoo does is that it generates a procurement exception. So for this 10 ml syringe, we can see that we have 14 on hand, but our minimum quantity should be 20. So if we run a scheduler, for example, it should automatically generate a request for quotation. So I come under the purchases module and I check, do I have any request for quotation? I see no request for quotation has been generated. It means that a procurement exception was generated. So if I come under reports and check under procurement exceptions, sure enough, I can see that this is my source document 0P006 10 ml syringe, and I can see that the status is an exception. It is creating an exception because there is no vendor attached to this particular product. So I'm going ahead to delete this particular exception and then go back to the product, and this time I can see that my reordering rule has been set. I'll edit it and add a vendor. So I'll just add a vendor here and save and close. So we're done, and I'll save that. Now, if I run the scheduler again, the scheduler has been run, I can come under reports and check for exceptions. I can see I do not have any exceptions. So if I go under purchases, I can see that a new request for quotation has been generated. And we can see that the source document is our reordering rule document 0p-0006. And I can click on that and see the details of the RFQ. I can see that the quantity is 6, 0, and 10 ml syringe. I can edit this to increase the quantity to whatever I want, probably 50, and I can save that. And then I can confirm the order. Once I confirm that, it becomes a purchase order, and I can make a purchase order to my vendor. So this is essentially how to set a reordering rule and to automatically create requests for quotations. So what's important to note is that in order for this to work, you must set a minimum quantity rule for those products you are interested in, and you must assign those products a vendor. And then once you do that and you run a scheduler, automatically a request for quotation would be generated for those particular products.